Chosen ones, you're standing at the edge right now, and this moment is no accident. God has placed you here, teetering on the brink of something massive, something divine, something that could shift your entire existence. You feel it, don't you? That pull, that whisper in your soul, urging you to step forward into a destiny so vast it almost scares you. This isn't just another day. This is the moment where everything changes, where the veil between who you were and who you're meant to be tears wide open. You're not here by chance. You're here because God has called you to stand at this edge, to face the unknown, and to claim the extraordinary life He's prepared for you. You might be wondering why it feels like the ground beneath you is trembling. It's not fear, it's the weight of your purpose settling into place. The edge you're standing on isn't a cliff meant to break you. It's a launching point, a divine threshold where God's promises are about to unfold. You've been through trials, storms that tried to drown you, doubts that tried to dim your light, but you're still here, standing tall. That's not luck. That's God's hand on your life, guiding you to this exact moment. You're not just surviving, you're being shaped into a vessel for His glory. So, pause for a second, feel the truth of this, and if your spirit is stirring, leave a comment with the number 777 below. It's a sign to the universe that you're ready to step into what's next. Think about Moses standing at the edge of the Red Sea. The enemy was behind him, the impossible stretched out before him, and yet God told him to move forward. The waters didn't part until he raised his staff, until he trusted enough to act. That's where you are right now, on the verge of a miracle that demands your faith to activate it. God isn't asking you to have all the answers. He's asking you to trust Him at this edge, to believe that what lies beyond is greater than anything you've left behind. Your past, your mistakes, your pain, your setbacks, none of it defines you here. What defines you is your willingness to step into the unknown, knowing God has already gone before you. This edge isn't just a place of transition, it's a place of revelation. You're about to see things you couldn't see before. The struggles that once felt like chains are about to become stepping stones. The dreams you buried because they seemed too big, they're not too big for God. He's been preparing you in the quiet moments, in the tears no one saw, in the battles you fought alone. Every hardship has been forging you into someone unbreakable, someone chosen to carry a light that can't be dimmed. If you're feeling this truth resonate, hit that like button and subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls walking this path. Your action sends a signal that you're ready for the transformation God is unleashing. Let's talk about what it means to stand at this edge. It's not just about waiting for something to happen, it's about recognizing that you're already in the middle of God's plan. You're not on the sidelines anymore. The world might tell you to play it safe, to stay comfortable, to avoid the risk. But God says different. He says, step forward, because I've already made a way. Look at David facing Goliath. He didn't have the armor, the experience, or the approval of those around him. All he had was a sling, a stone, and a heart full of faith. And that was enough. You don't need to look like the world's version of strong. You just need to trust that God's strength in you is enough. You're standing at the edge, and the enemy wants you to doubt. Doubt your worth. Doubt your calling. Doubt that God can really do what He's promised. But here's the truth. The enemy's voice is loud, but God's is louder. The enemy will whisper that you're not ready, that you're not enough, that this edge is too dangerous. But God says, you are mine, and I've equipped you for this. Every time you've fallen and gotten back up, every time you've chosen faith over fear, you've been training for this moment. The edge is where your faith becomes sight, where the promises you've held on to start to take shape. Leave a 777 inches, the comments to declare you're not backing down, you're stepping into God's plan. Picture Esther, standing at the edge of a decision that could have cost her everything. She wasn't born a queen. She was an orphan, an outsider, someone the world might have overlooked. But God saw her. He placed her in the palace for such a time as this. You're in your such a time as this moment. The edge you're at isn't random, it's divine. God has positioned you here to do something bold, something that will ripple through your life and the lives of those around you. You might not see the full picture yet, but you don't need to. All you need is the courage to take the next step, to trust that God's already cleared the path. This edge is also a place of surrender, not surrender to defeat, but to God's will. It's where you let go of trying to control the outcome and trust that His plan is better. Think about Abraham, called to leave everything familiar and go to a land he didn't know. He didn't have a map or a guarantee, just a promise from God. And that promise was enough to make him move. You're carrying a promise too, chosen one. It's written in your heart, etched in every moment you've overcome. The edge is where you release the need to figure it all out and let God lead. If this is speaking to you, drop a 777 inches the comments. Let the heavens know you're ready to trust Him fully. The world might see this edge as a place of risk, but for you, it's a place of divine opportunity. God doesn't bring you to the edge to let you fall. He brings you here to show you what's possible. Your finances, your health, your relationships, your purpose, they're all about to shift. Not because you've earned it, but because God has declared it. He's not a God of half measures. When He moves in ways that leave no doubt. Your job, your business, your dreams, they're not just going to survive, they're going to thrive. The edge is where you stop playing small and start walking in the fullness of what God has for you. Let's talk about what's waiting on the other side of this edge. It's not just a better version of your life. It's a divine transformation. You're not stepping into more of the same. You're stepping into abundance that overflows, peace that anchors, and purpose that ignites. God's plan for you isn't about scraping by. It's about living in a way that reflects His glory. Think about Joseph, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, imprisoned for years. He stood at the edge of despair more times than most. But every time, God turned the pit into a palace. Your pit is about to become your platform, chosen one. You might feel like you're not ready, like the edge is too much, too soon. But God doesn't wait for you to feel ready. He equips you as you go. The moment you say yes to His call, His strength fills the gaps. Your weaknesses, they're where His power shows up strongest. Your fears, they're just shadows that scatter when His light shines through you. You're not standing at this edge alone. The God who created the universe is right there with you, whispering, "I've got this. Trust me." If you're ready to claim this truth, hit that like button and subscribe to stand with thousands of chosen ones who are stepping into their divine destiny. This edge is also where you let go of the old you, the version of you that doubted, that settled, that thought small it can't come with you. God is calling you to a new identity, one that reflects His purpose for your life. Think about Saul, who became Paul. He stood at Jalala, the edge of his old life, persecutor, skeptic, enemy of the faith, and God transformed him into a vessel of truth. Your past doesn't disqualify you. It prepares you. Every mistake, every scar, every moment you thought you'd never survive, it's all been building you for this. The edge is where the old you dies and the chosen one rises. You're not just standing at the edge of change, you're standing at the edge of eternity. This moment connects you to something bigger than yourself, something that stretches beyond time. God's plan for you isn't just for now, it's for generations. The steps you take today will echo in the lives of those who come after you. Your courage, your faith, your willingness to stand at this edge, they're not just for you. They're for your family, your community, the world that's watching. You're not just a chosen one, you're a legacy, a living testament to God's faithfulness. Drop a 777 inches, the comments to seal this moment, to say you're ready to walk in that legacy. What happens when you step off this edge? You don't fall, you soar. God's got wings ready for you, wings of faith, wings of purpose, wings of divine provision. The world might expect you to crash, but God says you were made to fly. Think about Elijah, who called down fire from heaven, who outran chariots, who stood at the edge of impossibility and saw God move. Your life is about to become a story of miracles, of breakthroughs, of moments that make people say, "Only God could have done that." You're not stepping into the unknown, you're stepping into the undeniable power of God's plan. This edge is where you stop apologizing for who you are. You're not too much, too different, too bold. You're exactly who God created you to be. The world might try to dim your light, but at this edge, you shine brighter than ever. Your uniqueness, your fire, your faith, they're not flaws, they're your strength. God didn't choose you by mistake. He didn't call you to this edge to watch you shrink back. He called you to stand tall, to be a beacon, to show the world what happens when a chosen one says yes to their destiny. If this is resonating, leave a 777 inches the comments to declare you're done playing small, you're ready to shine. The edge is also a place of divine clarity. Things that used to confuse you, weigh you down, make you question they're about to make sense. God is pulling back the curtain, showing you why you went through what you did. Every trial was a setup, every closed door was a redirection, every tear was a seed. You're about to see the harvest. The edge is where God reveals the bigger picture, where you start to understand that nothing was wasted. Your pain had a purpose. Your struggles had a story. And that story is about to become a testimony that shakes the world. You're standing at the edge, and the enemy is trembling. Why? Because they know what happens when a chosen one steps into their calling. They've seen it before: Daniel in the lion's den, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire. The enemy threw everything at them, but God turned their edge into a stage for His glory. Your life is about to become that stage. The enemy can't stop what God has started. They can't close the doors He's opening. They can't dim the light He's placed in you. You're not just standing at the edge, you're standing in victory. This moment is your activation. You're not just hearing these words, you're being called to move. God is stirring something in you, something that's been dormant too long. Your gifts, your purpose, your fire, they're ready to come alive. The edge is where you stop waiting for permission and start walking in authority. You're not just a dreamer, you're a doer. You're not just a believer, you're a builder. God has given you everything you need to step into this new season. So, what's it going to be, chosen one? Will you stay where it's safe, or will you step into the divine unknown? You might feel the weight of this moment, the magnitude of what's at stake. That's not fear, it's the gravity of your destiny. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. You're standing at the edge, not because you're perfect, but because you're chosen. Think about Mary, a young girl chosen to carry the Savior. She didn't feel ready, but she said yes, and that yes changed the world. your yes can do the same. Say yes to the edge, yes to the unknown, yes to the God who's never failed you. Your yes is the key that unlocks the gates of heaven over your life. The edge is where you become undeniable. The world might have overlooked you, underestimated you, counted you out, but God never did. He's been watching, waiting, preparing you for this. Every step you've taken, every prayer you've whispered, every moment you chose faith over doubt, it's all led to this edge. You're not here to blend in, you're here to stand out. You're not here to follow, you're here to lead. You're not here to survive, you're here to thrive. God's got a spotlight on you, chosen one, and it's time to step into it. You're standing at the edge, and the view from here is breathtaking. It's not just about what you see, it's about what God sees in you. He sees a warrior, a light, a legacy. He sees someone who's ready to carry his purpose, to walk his path, to live his promises. The edge isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a chapter so powerful, it'll be told for generations. So, take a deep breath, chosen one. Feel the wind of God's Spirit at your back. Step forward. The gates of heaven are opening, and your name is written on them. You're standing at the edge, chosen one, and this isn't just a moment, it's a divine collision of your past, present, and future. God has woven every thread of your life into this exact point, where the weight of your journey meets the promise of your destiny. You've carried burdens, faced storms, and walked through valleys that would have broken others. But here you are, still standing, still shining. That's not by chance. That's God's design. He's been sculpting you, refining you, preparing you for a purpose so bold it could only come from Him. Your heart knows this truth, so if it's stirring you, drop a 777 inches the comments to claim this moment and let the heavens see your faith. This edge is where you stop running from your calling and start running toward it. You've spent too long wondering if you're enough, if you're ready, if the dreams God planted in you are possible. Let me tell you something. God doesn't plant seeds. He can't grow. Those desires in your heart, those visions that keep you up at night, they're not fantasies. They're blueprints. God has already drawn the plans for your life, and this edge is where you start building. Think of Noah, mocked by the world for building an ark in a desert. He didn't have proof the rain was coming, but he had faith. And that faith turned a crazy idea into a legacy that saved humanity. You might feel the world pressing in, telling you to stay small, to doubt, to wait for a better time. But God says now, this edge is your now. It's where you stop listening to the noise and start hearing His voice. The world will always have opinions, but God has the final word. He's not calling you to fit in. He's calling you to break out. Your business, your passion, your purpose, they're not meant to stay hidden. They're meant to shine, to impact, to change lives. You're not just standing at the edge of change, you're standing at the edge of a movement. Hit that like button and subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls stepping into their God-given purpose. The edge is where your story shifts from survival to significance. You've been through enough to know life isn't always easy. You've faced rejection, loss, moments where you wondered if God forgot you. But He didn't. Every closed door was a redirection. Every setback was a setup. God was teaching you resilience, showing you how to stand when the ground feels shaky. Now, at this edge, you're not just standing, you're ready to leap. Think of Ruth, who left everything familiar to follow God's call. She didn't know the outcome, but her faith led her to a legacy that changed history. Your leap of faith is about to do the same. This moment is also where you reclaim your voice. The enemy has tried to silence you, to make you feel like your words don't matter, like your story isn't worth telling. But God says different. Your voice is a weapon, a light, a force. When you speak, heaven listens. When you pray, mountains move. When you declare your purpose, the enemy trembles. You're not just at the edge of a new season, you're at the edge of a divine declaration. God is giving you the courage to speak life, to call forth what He's promised, to claim what's yours. Drop a 777 inches the comments to say you're ready to use your voice for His glory. The edge is a place of divine alignment. Everything in your life, every trial, every triumph is coming together right now. God is lining up opportunities, connections, resources, all tailored to His plan for you. You might not see it yet, but it's happening. The job you've been praying for, the breakthrough you've been waiting on, the healing you've been seeking, they're closer than you think. Think of Daniel, who prayed faithfully even when it meant facing lions. His alignment with God's will didn't just save him, it elevated him. Your alignment is about to elevate you too, chosen one. You're not just at the edge of a moment, you're at the edge of a miracle. God specializes in the impossible. That dream that feels too big, that goal that seems out of reach, they're not too big for Him. He's the God who turned water into wine, who fed thousands with a few loaves, who raised the dead. Your life is His canvas, and He's about to paint a masterpiece. The edge is where you stop doubting the size of your dreams and start trusting the size of your God. He's not limited by your circumstances, your bank account, or your past. He's only limited by your faith, so stretch it. Believe bigger. This edge is also where you discover your true strength. Not the strength the world measures, money, status, connections, but the strength that comes from knowing who you are in Christ. You're not defined by what you've done or what's been done to you. You're defined by the one who created you. God's power in you is unstoppable. Think of Gideon, who thought he was the least of his people. God saw a mighty warrior. At this edge, God sees the warrior in you. He's calling you to rise up, to fight with faith, to conquer with courage. Your strength isn't in your hands, it's in His. The world might see this edge as a place of uncertainty, but for you, it's a place of divine certainty. God's promises are sure. His plans are unshakable. You're not standing here wondering what's next. You're standing here knowing that God's already worked it out. Your finances, He's got them. Your health, He's restoring it. Your purpose, He's revealing it. The edge is where you stop worrying about how and start trusting in who. God's got a track record of showing up, and He's not about to stop now. If this is hitting home, drop a 777 inches the comments to declare you're trusting Him fully. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you let go of comparison. The world wants you to measure yourself against others, to feel like you're behind, like you're not enough. But God chose you for a reason. Your path isn't supposed to look like anyone else's. Your calling is unique. Your story is yours. And your edge is custom-made. Think of John the Baptist living in the wilderness, eating locusts, wearing camel hair. He didn't look like the religious leaders of his day, but he was exactly who God called him to be. You don't need to look like anyone else to be powerful. This edge is where you stop chasing and start receiving. The world tells you to hustle, to grind, to make things happen. But God says, rest in me. Your provision isn't coming from your effort, it's coming from His promise. He's not asking you to force the doors open, He's asking you to walk through the ones He's already unlocked. Think of the Israelites at Jericho. They didn't break down the walls with their strength, They walked in obedience, and God brought the walls down. Your obedience at this edge is about to bring walls crashing down in your life. You're also at the edge of a divine exchange. God is taking your ashes and giving you beauty, your mourning and giving you joy, your weakness and giving you strength. This isn't just a moment of change, it's a moment of transformation. You're not just getting better, you're becoming new. Every part of your life is being touched by His hand. Your relationships are being restored. Your confidence is being renewed. Your purpose is being clarified. The edge is where God trades what's broken for what's whole, what's temporary for what's eternal. This edge is where you step into your authority. You're not a bystander in your own story. God has given you power, power to speak life, to break chains, to shift atmospheres. You're not just waiting for a miracle, you're carrying one. Think of Peter, who stepped out of the boat to walk on water. The waves were raging, the wind was howling, but Jesus called him, and he walked. You're being called to walk on water, chosen one. The circumstances might look impossible, but God's voice is louder. Step out in authority and watch the impossible bow to His name. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a light to others. Your journey isn't just about you, it's about the people watching, the ones who need to see what faith looks like. Your courage to stand here, to trust God, to move forward, it's inspiring someone else to do the same. You're not just a chosen one, you're a chain breaker, a hope bringer, a light in the darkness. Think of the woman at the well, whose encounter with Jesus didn't just change her, it changed her entire village. Your edge is about to change lives beyond your own. The edge is also where you learn to rest in God's timing. You might want to rush, to make things happen now, but God's pace is perfect. He's not slow, He's strategic. Every delay has a purpose. Every waiting season is preparing you. Think of Joseph, who waited years in a prison before stepping into a palace. Those years weren't wasted, they were training. Your waiting isn't punishment, it's preparation. God's timing is aligning every piece of your story. And when it's time to move, nothing will stop you. You're at the edge of a divine overflow. God's blessings aren't going to trickle in, they're going to pour. Your cup isn't just going to be full, it's going to run over. Your finances, your opportunities, your peace, they're about to overflow in ways that leave no doubt God is at work. Think of the widow with a jar of oil. She thought she had nothing, but God multiplied it until every vessel was filled. Your nothing is about to become everything, chosen one. God's about to multiply what you've given Him, turning your little into His much. This edge is where you stop fearing the future. The unknown used to scare you, but now it excites you. Why? Because you know who holds it. God's already written your tomorrow, and it's good. Your future isn't a question mark, it's a promise. He's not leading you to a dead end, He's leading you to a destiny. Think of Abraham, who left his home not knowing where he was going. He didn't need a map because he had God's voice. You don't need to see every step, chosen one. You just need to hear Him. You're standing at the edge, and this is where your faith becomes your foundation. Every promise God has spoken over you is solid ground. Every word He's given you is a rock you can stand on. The world might shake, but His promises don't. Your job, your family, your dreams, they're all held in His hands. Think of Peter, who denied Jesus 3 times but was restored to lead thousands. Your failures don't disqualify you, they prepare you. Your faith is the foundation for everything God's about to build in your life. The edge is also where you see God's faithfulness in a new way. You've seen Him move before, maybe in small ways, maybe in big ones. But at this edge, you're about to see him like never before. He's not just the God who provides, he's the God who overwhelms. He's not just the God who heals, he's the God who restores. He's not just the God who guides, he's the God who transforms. Every step you take from this edge will be a testimony to his faithfulness, a story that points others to him. You're at the edge of a divine reset. God is recalibrating your life, realigning it with his purpose. Things that felt off, relationships that drained you, dreams that seemed dead, they're all being reset. God's hitting the refresh button on your story. Think of Lazarus, dead for 4 days, but Jesus called him out of the tomb. What's dead in your life? God's about to call it back to life. This edge is where you let go of what was and embrace what is, because what is his. This edge is where you become a magnet for divine connections. God is bringing the right people into your life. People who see your value, who share your vision, who will walk with you into this new season. You're not meant to do this alone. God's aligning you with others who are also chosen, who are also standing at their edge. Think of Jonathan and David, whose friendship was a divine gift that strengthened them both. Your connections are coming, chosen one, and they're going to amplify what God's doing in you. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you stop settling for less. God didn't create you to accept crumbs when he's prepared a feast. Your dreams, your calling, your purpose, they're worth fighting for. They're worth believing for. The edge is where you say no to mediocrity and yes to the abundance God has promised. Think of Caleb, who at 85 refused to settle for less than the land God promised him. Your age, your past, your circumstances, they don't limit God. He's ready to give you the land he's promised. The edge is also where you embrace your divine timing. You might feel like you're late, like others are ahead, but God's clock is different. He's never early, never late, always right on time. Your season is now. Your breakthrough is now. Your moment is now. Think of Sarah, who laughed at the idea of a child in her old age. But God's promise came through, and her laughter turned to joy. Your laughter is coming, chosen one. Your joy is about to overflow. You're at the edge of a divine awakening. Something in you is stirring, something that's been asleep too long. God is waking up your gifts, your passion, your fire. You're not just going to live, you're going to burn brightly for him. Think of Elisha, who received a double portion of Elijah's spirit. God's not just giving you a portion, he's giving you a double portion. Your awakening is going to shake the ground, ignite the air, and light up the world around you. This edge is where you stop hiding. You've played small, stayed quiet, kept your light under a bushel, but God's calling you out. He's saying, shine. Your gifts, your story, your voice, they're not meant to be buried. They're meant to be seen. Think of Moses, who hid his face from God at the burning bush, but God called him to lead a nation. You're being called to lead too, not always in front, but always with impact. Step out, chosen one. The world needs your light. You're standing at the edge, chosen one, and this is where you become a force of divine disruption. The world has its systems, its rules, its ways of keeping things in line, but you were never meant to conform. God has placed you here to shake things up, to challenge what's ordinary, to rewrite what's possible. Your presence alone is a spark that ignites change, a ripple that turns into a wave. You're not just stepping into a new season, you're stepping into a role that shifts the atmosphere. Think of Deborah, who led with wisdom and courage when the world expected her to stay silent. Your life is about to become a testimony of what happens when God's chosen refuse to play by the world's rules. This edge is where you stop questioning your worth. The enemy has tried to make you feel small, insignificant, like your life doesn't matter. But God says you're priceless. You're not just a person, you're a purpose. Every moment you've doubted yourself, every time you felt overlooked, God was preparing you for this. He's been polishing you, refining you, making you ready to reflect His glory. Your worth isn't tied to what others think or what you've achieved. It's tied to who He says you are. Drop a 777 inches the comments to claim your divine worth and let the heavens know you're stepping into it. The edge is a place of divine acceleration. Things that used to take years are about to happen in days. Doors that seemed locked are swinging open. Opportunities that felt out of reach are landing in your lap. God is speeding up His plan for you, not because you've earned it, but because it's time. Think of Joshua, who went from serving Moses to leading a nation in a moment. God didn't wait for him to feel ready. He moved when the time was right. Your time is right now, chosen one. Get ready for a season where God's timing moves faster than you can imagine. You're also at the edge of a divine unveiling. God is pulling back the layers, showing you who you've always been. You're not discovering a new you. You're uncovering the you He created before time began. Every trial, every tear, every triumph has been peeling away what doesn't belong, revealing the masterpiece underneath. Think of Jacob, wrestling with God until he received a new name, Israel. Your wrestling days are over. This edge is where you step into your true name, your true identity, your true calling. Hit that like button and subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls embracing their divine unveiling. This edge is where you stop carrying what's not yours, the burdens of others, the expectations of the world, the weight of past mistakes. God is saying, let them go. You were never meant to carry the world's pain. You were meant to carry His light. Lay down the guilt, the shame, the need to please everyone. Your job is to walk in His purpose, not to fix what He hasn't called you to fix. Think of the Samaritan woman who left her water jar at the well after meeting Jesus. She didn't need it anymore. Her encounter with Him was enough. Your encounter with God at this edge is enough. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a magnet for miracles. God's power isn't just for Bible stories, it's for you, right now. The same God who parted seas, healed the sick, and raised the dead is moving in your life. Your finances are about to shift. Your health is about to be restored. Your dreams are about to come alive. Miracles aren't rare for a chosen one, they're your birthright. Think of the blind man Jesus healed with mud and spit. The world saw impossibility. God saw opportunity. Your edge is where impossibilities turn into testimonies. The edge is also where you step into divine boldness. You've been hesitant, careful, maybe even afraid to stand out. But God is calling you to be unapologetic about who you are. Your faith, your vision, your purpose, they're not meant to be whispered. They're meant to be declared. Think of Peter, who went from denying Jesus to preaching to thousands on Pentecost. His boldness came from the Holy Spirit, and that same Spirit is in you. This edge is where you stop shrinking and start shouting what God's placed in your heart. Drop a 777 inches the comments to declare your boldness for His glory. You're at the edge of a divine harvest. Every seed you've sown, every prayer, every act of faith, every moment you chose to trust God is about to bear fruit. You've planted in tears, but you're about to reap in joy. Your faithfulness hasn't gone unnoticed. God's been keeping track, and He's about to pour out a harvest so abundant it'll overflow into every area of your life. Think of the farmer who waits patiently for the crop. Your waiting is over, chosen one. The fields are ripe, and your harvest is here. This edge is where you stop fighting alone. You've carried battles by yourself, faced struggles no one else saw, but God is surrounding you with a divine community, people who see your light, who share your faith, who will stand with you. You're not meant to walk this path in isolation. God's bringing warriors, encouragers, visionaries to walk alongside you. Think of Moses, who had Aaron and Hur to hold up his arms in battle. Your arms are about to be held up, chosen one. Your community is coming, and together you'll conquer. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace your divine rhythm. The world moves fast, pushing you to keep up, to hustle, to never stop. But God's rhythm is different. It's steady, purposeful, peaceful. He's teaching you to move with His flow, to trust His pace, to rest in His timing. Your life isn't a race, it's a dance. Think of David, who danced before the Lord with all his might. Your edge is where you find your rhythm, where you move in step with God's heart, and it's beautiful. The edge is also where you become a vessel for God's glory. Your life isn't just about you, it's about showing the world what God can do. Every step you take, every victory you claim, every dream you bring to life, it's all a reflection of Him. You're not here to build your own kingdom, you're here to reveal His. Think of Solomon, whose wisdom and wealth pointed people to God's greatness. Your edge is where your life becomes a living billboard for His power, His love, His faithfulness. You're at the edge of a divine shift in perspective. The way you see yourself, your circumstances, your future, it's all changing. God is giving you His eyes, His vision, His clarity. What looked like a dead end is now a doorway. What felt like failure is now a foundation. What seemed impossible is now your reality. Think of Elisha, who saw chariots of fire when others saw only an army. Your edge is where you start seeing God's armies, His plans, His promises surrounding you. This edge is where you stop striving and start thriving. The world says, work harder, do more, be more. But God says, be still and know that I am God. Your success doesn't come from your hustle, it comes from His hand. He's not asking you to earn His blessings, He's asking you to receive them. Think of the prodigal son, who came home empty-handed but was met with a robe, a ring, and a feast. Your edge is where you come home to God's abundance, where you stop striving and start living. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a beacon of hope. Your story, your faith, your courage, they're not just for you. They're for the people who've lost their way, who've forgotten how to dream, who need to see that God still moves. You're not just a chosen one, you're a signpost pointing others to His love. Think of Rahab, who saved spies and became part of Jesus' lineage. Your edge is where your life becomes a bridge for others to cross into God's promises. The edge is also where you discover your divine resilience. You've been knocked down, but you've always gotten up. You've been hurt, but you've healed. You've been tested, but you've triumphed. That's not just strength, that's God's power in you. Every time you thought you couldn't go on, He carried you. Now, at this edge, you're seeing just how unbreakable you are. Think of Job, who lost everything but held on to his faith. Your resilience is about to shine, chosen one, and it's going to inspire the world. You're at the edge of a divine expansion. God's not just blessing you, He's enlarging your territory. Your influence, your impact, your reach, they're all growing. What you thought was your limit is just your starting point. God's plans for you are bigger than your imagination. Think of Jabez, who prayed for God to expand his borders, and God did. Your edge is where you pray bold prayers, dream big dreams, and watch God make room for your destiny. This edge is where you stop hiding your scars, your wounds, your struggles, your battles. They're not something to be ashamed of. They're your testimony. They're proof that you've walked through fire and come out shining. God's turning your scars into stars, your pain into purpose. Think of Thomas, who doubted until he touched Jesus' scars. Your scars will lead others to believe, to trust, to find hope. Your edge is where your story becomes a lifeline for someone else. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace your divine freedom. The chains that held you fear, doubt, regret, are breaking. God is setting you free to live fully, to love deeply, to dream wildly. You're not bound by what was. You're released into what is. Think of the Israelites who walked through the Red Sea into freedom. Your edge is your Red Sea moment, where God parts the impossible and leads you into a land of promise. The edge is also where you become a steward of God's blessings. The abundance coming your way isn't just for you, it's for you to share. Your wealth, your gifts, your time, they're tools to build His kingdom. God's trusting you to use what He gives you to lift others up, to spread His love, to make a difference. Think of Barnabas, who sold his land to support the early church. Your edge is where you step into stewardship, where your blessings become a blessing to the world. You're at the edge of a divine encounter. God's presence is closer than ever, His voice clearer, His hand stronger. You're not just standing here, you're meeting Him here. This edge is sacred ground, where you hear His whisper, feel His peace, know His love. Think of Elijah, who heard God not in the earthquake or the fire, but in a still, small voice. Your edge is where you hear that voice, where you know God's with you, guiding you, loving you. You're standing at the edge, chosen one, and this is where you step into divine confidence, not the kind that comes from pride or self-reliance, but the kind that flows from knowing God has already gone before you. You're not walking into the unknown alone. He's charted every step, cleared every obstacle, and prepared every victory. Your confidence isn't in your own strength, it's in His unshakable promises. Think of Nehemiah, who rebuilt Jerusalem's walls despite threats and opposition. He didn't lean on his own ability, he trusted God's call. Your edge is where you walk with that same bold assurance, knowing God's got you covered. This edge is where you stop letting fear dictate your choices. The enemy has tried to paralyze you, whispering lies about what could go wrong, what you could lose. But God's voice cuts through that noise, saying, I am with you. Fear is a liar. And at this edge, you're done listening to it. You're choosing faith instead. Think of Esther, who walked into a king's court knowing it could cost her life. Her courage wasn't reckless, it was rooted in God's purpose. Your edge is where you silence fear and let faith lead you into the destiny God's written for you. You're also at the edge of a divine redefinition. The world has tried to label you failure, unworthy, ordinary. But God is rewriting your story. He's calling you chosen, victorious, extraordinary. Every label that's held you back is being erased, replaced with His truth about who you are. You're not what you've been through, you're what He's bringing you to. Think of Gideon, called a mighty warrior when he felt like the least. Your edge is where God redefines you, where you step into the identity He's always seen in you. Drop a 777 inches the comments to claim your new name in Him. The edge is a place of divine restoration. Everything the enemy stole, your peace, your joy, your dreams, God is giving back, and He's adding interest. What was broken is being made whole. What was lost is being found. What was dimmed is shining again. Think of Joel's promise. God will restore the years the locusts have eaten. Your edge is where restoration begins, where God takes the fragments of your past and builds something beautiful. Your life is about to overflow with His goodness, proving that nothing is ever truly lost in His hands. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a catalyst for change. Your faith, your actions, your courage, they're not just transforming you, they're sparking transformation in others. You're not here to just live your life, you're here to ignite others to live theirs. Your breakthrough will inspire someone else's. Your victory will give someone else hope. Think of Andrew, who brought his brother Peter to Jesus. One simple act changed the world. Your edge is where your life becomes a spark that sets others ablaze for God's purpose. This edge is where you embrace divine simplicity. The world complicates things, piling on expectations, rules, and distractions. But God's way is clear. Trust Him, follow Him, love Him. At this edge, you strip away the clutter and focus on what matters, your connection with God. He's not asking for perfection, He's asking for your heart. Think of the boy who gave Jesus 5 loaves and 2 fish. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Your edge is where you give God what you have and watch Him multiply it beyond your imagination. You're at the edge of a divine breakthrough. The walls you've been pushing against, financial struggles, health challenges, broken relationships, are about to crumble. God's power doesn't just chip away at obstacles, it shatters them. Your breakthrough isn't coming because you're strong enough, it's coming because He is. Think of the woman with the issue of blood, who reached for Jesus' hem and was healed in an instant. Your edge is where you reach out in faith, and God meets you with a miracle. Hit that like button and subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls stepping into their breakthrough. The edge is also where you discover divine endurance. You've been through seasons that tested your limits, moments where you thought you couldn't go on, but God's strength carried you, and it's carrying you now. You're not just surviving, you're thriving through His power. Your endurance is a testimony, a sign that God's grace is enough. Think of Paul, who endured shipwrecks, beatings, and imprisonment, yet kept preaching. Your edge is where your endurance becomes a story that glorifies God and inspires others. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you step into divine influence. God's not just changing your life, He's positioning you to change lives around you. Your words, your actions, your faith, they carry weight. People are watching, listening, learning from you. You're not just a chosen one, you're a leader, a light, a voice. Think of Miriam, who led worship after the Red Sea parted. Your edge is where you lead others to worship, to trust, to believe in God's power through the way you live. This edge is where you stop looking back. The past has held you long enough, regrets, mistakes, what-ifs. God is saying, look forward. Your future is brighter than your past, bigger than your pain. He's not bringing you to this edge to dwell on what was, but to embrace what's coming. Think of Lot's wife, who looked back and turned to salt. Your edge is where you keep your eyes fixed on God's promises, where you walk forward without hesitation, trusting His plan. You're at the edge of a divine partnership. God isn't just working for you, He's working with you. He's inviting you to co-create, to build, to dream alongside Him. Your ideas, your passions, your vision, they're part of His plan. He's not asking you to sit back. He's asking you to step up as His partner. Think of Bezalel, who God filled with skill to build the tabernacle. Your edge is where your talents meet His anointing, where you create something eternal with Him. The edge is also where you embrace divine protection. The enemy can't touch what God has claimed. You're surrounded by His angels, covered by His promises, guarded by His love. No weapon formed against you will prosper, not because you're untouchable, but because He is. Think of Daniel in the lion's den, protected by God's hand. Your edge is where you walk in confidence, knowing nothing can harm what God has destined to thrive. Drop a 777 inches the comments to declare you're walking in His protection. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a vessel for divine peace. The world is chaotic, loud, overwhelming, but God's peace is your anchor. It's not the absence of problems, it's the presence of Him. At this edge, you're learning to carry His peace wherever you go, to bring calm to the storm, to be a refuge for others. Think of Jesus sleeping in the boat while the storm raged. Your edge is where you rest in God's peace, unshaken by the chaos around you. This edge is where you step into divine legacy. Your life isn't just about today, it's about tomorrow, and the tomorrow after that. God's building something through you that will outlast you. Your faith, your choices, your courage, they're planting seeds for generations. Think of Abraham, whose obedience blessed nations. Your edge is where you plant seeds that will grow into a legacy of faith, hope, and love, touching lives you'll never meet. You're at the edge of a divine reawakening. Things you thought were dead, dreams, relationships, opportunities are coming back to life. God's breathing on them, stirring what seemed lost. What you buried in despair, He's raising in victory. Think of Ezekiel, speaking life to dry bones. Your edge is where you speak life, where you call forth what God's promised, where you see His resurrection power at work in every area of your life. The edge is also where you embrace divine gratitude. You're not just thankful for what's coming, you're thankful for what's been. Every step, every struggle, every moment God carried you, it's all part of your story. Gratitude doesn't just change your heart, it changes your perspective. It turns what you have into enough. Think of the leper who returned to thank Jesus for his healing. Your edge is where you pause to say thank you, where your gratitude becomes a magnet for more of God's blessings. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a warrior of light. The battle isn't against flesh and blood, it's against the lies, fears, and doubts that try to dim your shine. You're not fighting for victory, you're fighting from it. God's already won, and you're carrying His triumph. Think of David, who ran toward Goliath with a sling and a shout. Your edge is where you run toward your giants, knowing God's power in you is greater than anything you face. This edge is where you step into divine clarity. Confusion, indecision, and doubt are fading. God's giving you eyes to see, ears to hear, a heart to understand. You're not guessing anymore, you're knowing. His Spirit is guiding you, showing you the next step, revealing His plan. Think of Samuel, who heard God's voice clearly in the night. Your edge is where you hear Him, where His voice cuts through the noise, leading you with unshakable certainty. You're at the edge of a divine overflow of favor. God's favor isn't just a sprinkle, it's a flood. It's opening doors no one can shut, bringing opportunities no one can take, positioning you where no one expected. His favor is your shield, your advantage, your key. Think of Joseph, who went from a pit to a palace because God's favor was on him. Your edge is where favor surrounds you, where God's hand makes you stand out in ways that can't be explained. The edge is also where you become a carrier of divine hope. You're not just hoping for yourself, you're holding hope for others. Your faith is a lifeline, your story a beacon, your life a promise that God is still good. You're not here to just get through, You're here to show others they can too. Think of Naomi, who lost everything but found hope through Ruth. Your edge is where your hope becomes contagious, lifting those around you into God's promises. You're standing at the edge, chosen one, and this is where you ignite a divine spark. There's a fire in you, a holy flame that God Himself has kindled, and it's ready to blaze. This isn't just about your own transformation, it's about setting the world around you alight with His truth. Your passion, your purpose, your unwavering faith, they're not meant to stay quiet. They're meant to burn brightly, to draw others to His light. Think of Jeremiah, called to speak God's word despite opposition. Your edge is where your spark becomes a wildfire, spreading hope and truth wherever you go. This edge is where you stop apologizing for your dreams. The world might call them unrealistic, too big, too bold, but God calls them His. Those visions in your heart, those goals that feel impossible, they're not accidents, they're divine assignments. God didn't give you small dreams because He's not a small God. He's calling you to chase what sets your soul on fire, to pursue what only He can bring to life. Think of Joseph, who held on to his dream of leadership through years of betrayal and prison. Your edge is where you run toward your dreams, trusting God to make them reality. You're also at the edge of divine alignment with your purpose. Every step you've taken, every detour you've faced, has been leading you to this moment where your life syncs perfectly with God's plan. The distractions are fading, the doubts are dissolving, and your path is becoming clear. You're not wandering anymore, you're walking with intention. Think of Mary Magdalene, who found her purpose at Jesus' feet after a life of pain. Your edge is where you step fully into the role God created you for, where every move you make reflects His call. The edge is a place of divine empowerment. God isn't just giving you a task, He's giving you the strength to do it. You're not stepping into this new season empty-handed. You're equipped with His power, His wisdom, His grace. The challenges ahead? They're no match for the spirit within you. Think of Samson, who tore down gates with God's strength. Your edge is where you tap into that same divine power, where you move mountains because God's hand is on you. Drop a 777 inches the comments to claim this empowerment and let the heavens know you're ready. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a mirror of God's glory. Your life is reflecting something bigger than yourself. His love, His power, His faithfulness. People don't just see you, they see Him through you. Your words, your actions, your faith, they point others to the God who never fails. You're not just living for yourself, you're living for His name. Think of Stephen, whose face shone like an angel as he stood for truth. Your edge is where your life becomes a reflection that draws others to God's light. This edge is where you stop chasing approval. The world's validation is fleeting, but God's approval is eternal. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your worth is already sealed in Him. The people who don't understand your journey, who question your path, they don't hold your destiny. God does. Let go of the need to be seen, to be liked, to be understood. Your edge is where you stand firm in who God says you are, unshaken by opinions. Think of Jesus, who faced rejection but never wavered from His mission. You're at the edge of a divine overflow of wisdom. God is pouring out insight, discernment, clarity like never before. You're not just making decisions, you're making divinely guided ones. The confusion that once clouded your mind is lifting, replaced by a knowing that only comes from Him. Think of Solomon, who asked for wisdom and received it abundantly. Your edge is where you ask and receive, where God's wisdom guides your steps, your words, your future. Hit that like button and subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls walking in divine wisdom. The edge is also where you become a bridge for others. Your journey, your faith, your victories, they're not just for you. They're a pathway for others to find God's love, His hope, His power. You're not just crossing into your destiny, you're helping others cross into theirs. Your story is a testimony, your life a roadmap, your courage an invitation. Think of Philip, who met the Ethiopian and led him to faith. Your edge is where you become a bridge, connecting others to the God who changed you. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace divine timing. The world rushes, but God perfects. Every moment of waiting, every season of delay has been shaping you for what's next. God's not late, He's precise. Your breakthrough is coming at the exact moment it's meant to, orchestrated by His hand. Think of Hannah, who waited years for a child, only to birth a prophet who changed a nation. Your edge is where you trust His timing, knowing it's always perfect. This edge is where you stop fearing failure. The world says failure is the end, but God says it's a beginning. Every stumble, every misstep, every not yet has been teaching you, strengthening you, preparing you. Failure isn't your story's conclusion, it's your story's foundation. God's turning your mistakes into miracles, your setbacks into setups. Think of Peter, who failed Jesus, but was restored to lead His church. Your edge is where failure becomes fuel for your divine comeback. You're at the edge of a divine release. The things that have held you back, old mindsets, toxic habits, limiting beliefs, are being cut loose. God's freeing you to run your race without chains, to chase His purpose without baggage. You're lighter, stronger, ready for what's ahead. Think of the man at the pool of Bethesda, stuck for 38 years until Jesus set him free. Your edge is where you rise, pick up your mat, and walk into the freedom God's prepared for you. The edge is also where you become a voice for truth. The world is full of noise, lies, distractions, half-truths. But God's given you a voice that cuts through. Your words carry weight, your truth carries power, your faith carries light. You're not here to add to the chaos, you're here to bring clarity. Think of John the Baptist, crying out in the wilderness to prepare the way. Your edge is where you speak boldly, where your voice echoes God's heart and shifts the atmosphere. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace divine surrender. Not giving up, but giving over, handing your plans, your fears, your future to God. Surrender isn't weakness, it's trust. It's knowing His way is better, His plan is bigger, His love is deeper. Think of Mary, who said, "Let it be to me according to your word." Your edge is where you say yes to God's will, where you let go and let Him lead you into something greater than you could have planned. This edge is where you become a magnet for divine provision. God's not just meeting your needs, He's exceeding them. Your finances, your opportunities, your resources, they're about to flow in ways that defy logic. God's provision isn't limited by the economy, by your past, by what's possible. Think of the widow whose oil never ran dry. Your edge is where your jars are filled, where God's abundance pours out, proving He's more than enough. You're at the edge of a divine shift in relationships. God's removing what drains you and bringing what strengthens you. Toxic ties are breaking. Divine connections are forming. You're not meant to walk with people who dim your light. You're meant to walk with those who amplify it. Think of Ruth and Naomi, whose bond led to redemption. Your edge is where God aligns you with people who see your calling, share your faith, and push you toward your destiny. The edge is also where you step into divine creativity, God's awakening the ideas, the vision, the innovation He placed in you. You're not just a dreamer, you're a creator, shaped in the image of the ultimate creator. Your business, your art, your mission, they're about to take on new life. Think of Bezalel, whose craftsmanship built God's tabernacle. Your edge is where your creativity becomes a tool for His glory, where your ideas shape eternity. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a beacon of faith. Your trust in God isn't just personal, it's powerful. It's a signal to others that faith works, that God delivers, that His promises are real. You're not just believing for yourself, you're showing others what it looks like to trust God fully. Think of Noah, whose faith in building the ark saved his family. Your edge is where your faith becomes a lighthouse, guiding others through their storms. This edge is where you embrace divine resilience. You've been knocked down, but you've never stayed down. God's built in you a strength that bends but doesn't break, a heart that hopes through the hardest nights. Your resilience isn't just for you, it's a testimony to His faithfulness. Think of Job, who endured loss but never lost faith. Your edge is where your resilience shines, showing the world that God's grace is stronger than any trial. You're at the edge of a divine invitation. God's not forcing you forward, He's inviting you. He's asking you to trust, to move, to believe in the plans He's laid out. This edge is your chance to say yes, to step into the life He's designed, to claim the promises He's spoken. Think of Isaiah, who said, "Here am I, send me." Your edge is where you respond to God's call, where you say yes to the adventure He's prepared for you. The edge is also where you become a vessel for divine transformation. Your life isn't just changing, it's being remade. God's not patching up the old you, He's creating something new. Your heart, your mind, your spirit, they're all being shaped into His image. Think of Saul, transformed into Paul, from persecutor to apostle. Your edge is where God's transformation takes root, where you become a living example of His power to make all things new. You're standing at the edge, chosen one, and this is where you embrace divine authenticity. The world pressures you to conform, to wear masks, to be what others expect. But God calls you to be real, to be you, the you He created with purpose and precision. Your authenticity is your power, a light that cuts through pretense and draws others to truth. Think of David, who faced Goliath not as a polished warrior, but as a shepherd with a sling and a heart full of faith. Your edge is where you shed every false layer and stand boldly as God's masterpiece. This edge is where you stop doubting your calling. You've felt it stirring, those whispers of purpose, those moments when you know you're meant for more. God didn't plant those desires to tease you. He planted them to guide you. Your calling isn't a fantasy. It's a divine mandate. Stop questioning if you're worthy. God chose you, and that's enough. Think of Jeremiah, who thought he was too young to speak for God. Yet God used him to change a nation. Your edge is where you step into your calling with unshakable certainty. You're also at the edge of a divine collision with destiny. Every step of your journey, every tear, every triumph, every test has been leading to this moment where your life intersects with God's plan. This isn't a random point in time, it's a divine appointment. God's aligning your path with His purpose, and the impact will be eternal. Think of Esther, whose ordinary life collided with a divine moment to save her people. Your edge is where your story meets God's bigger story, where you step into a destiny that echoes beyond your lifetime. Drop a 777 inches the comments to claim this collision and let the heavens see your faith. The edge is a place of divine momentum. You've been building, praying, believing, and now God's pushing you forward with a force you can't ignore. Things that felt stuck are moving. Doors that were shut are opening. Dreams that seemed distant are coming into focus. This momentum isn't your doing, it's God's. He's propelling you into a season of action and breakthrough. Think of Peter, who stepped out of the boat and walked on water because Jesus called. Your edge is where you ride God's momentum, moving faster and farther than you ever thought possible. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a vessel for divine compassion. God's love in you isn't just for you, it's for the broken, the hurting, the lost. Your heart, shaped by His hands, is meant to pour out mercy, to lift others up, to show them they're seen. You're not here to judge, you're here to heal. Think of the Good Samaritan who stopped for a stranger when others passed by. Your edge is where your compassion becomes a bridge, drawing others to God's heart through your actions. This edge is where you stop settling for temporary fixes. The world offers quick solutions, band-aids for deep wounds, distractions for real problems. But God offers lasting transformation. He's not patching up your life, He's rebuilding it from the ground up. Your finances, your health, your purpose, they're not getting a temporary boost. They're being made new. Think of the man born blind, healed by Jesus, not for a moment, but for a lifetime. Your edge is where you claim God's permanent solutions, where you walk in His lasting promises. You're at the edge of a divine shift in authority. God's giving you a mantle, a spiritual weight to carry His power and purpose. You're not just a follower anymore, you're a leader, a voice, a force for His kingdom. This authority isn't about control, it's about influence, about speaking life and truth into every situation. Think of Joshua, who took Moses' place and led a nation into the promised land. Your edge is where you step into your God-given authority, where you lead with His strength. Hit that like button and subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls walking in divine authority. The edge is also where you embrace divine persistence. You've faced setbacks, closed doors, moments when giving up felt easier than going on. But God's put a fire in you that doesn't quit. Your persistence isn't stubbornness, it's faith in action, trusting that God's promises are worth the wait. Every time you've pushed forward, you've grown stronger, closer to His plan. Think of the persistent widow who kept seeking justice until it was granted. Your edge is where your persistence pays off, where God honors your refusal to give up. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a light in the chaos. The world is loud, divided, uncertain, but you carry a peace that stands out. Your faith, your hope, your trust in God, they're a beacon in the storm, showing others what's possible. You're not swayed by the noise, you're anchored in His truth. Think of Daniel, who prayed in a city that outlawed it, unshaken by the chaos around him. Your edge is where your light shines brightest, cutting through the darkness and guiding others home. This edge is where you stop living for the moment and start living for eternity. God's plans for you stretch far beyond what you can see into generations, into forever. Your choices today, your faith right now, are planting seeds that will grow long after you're gone. You're not just building a life, you're building a legacy. Think of Abraham, whose faith made him the father of nations. Your edge is where you plant eternal seeds, where your life becomes a foundation for God's kingdom. You're at the edge of a divine overflow of joy. The world can steal your happiness, but it can't touch God's joy. This joy isn't based on circumstances, it's rooted in His presence. It's the strength that carries you through trials, the spark that lights up your darkest days. God's filling you with a joy that overflows, touching everyone around you. Think of Paul and Silas, singing in prison at midnight. Your edge is where you sing through the chains, where your joy becomes a testimony of God's goodness. The edge is also where you become a steward of divine truth. God's given you insight, revelation, a knowing that cuts through the lies of the world. You're not here to follow trends or echo opinions. You're here to speak what's eternal. Your words carry weight. Your truth shifts perspectives. Your voice changes hearts. Think of Isaiah, who spoke God's truth to a stubborn nation. Your edge is where you stand firm in his truth, where you become a mouthpiece for his heart. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace divine courage. The world says courage is the absence of fear, but God says it's moving forward despite it. You're not fearless, you're faithful. Every step you take, every risk you embrace, is backed by his strength. You're not stepping into the unknown alone, you're stepping with the God who holds the stars. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who faced the furnace with courage because they trusted God. Your edge is where your courage becomes a fire that can't be quenched. This edge is where you stop chasing perfection. The world demands flawlessness, but God demands faith. Your imperfections don't disqualify you, they qualify you for his grace. He's not looking for a perfect vessel, he's looking for a willing one. Your cracks are where his light shines through. Think of the woman who anointed Jesus with costly perfume. She wasn't perfect, but her heart was. Your edge is where you offer God your heart, imperfections and all, and watch him make it beautiful. You're at the edge of a divine shift in focus. The world pulls your attention to what's temporary, money, status, trends, but God's turning your eyes to what lasts. Your focus is sharpening, zeroing in on his purpose, his voice, his plan. Distractions are losing their grip. His call is growing louder. Think of Elisha, who left his plow to follow Elijah without looking back. Your edge is where you lock eyes with God's vision, where everything else fades and his purpose takes center stage. The edge is also where you become a carrier of divine restoration. God's not just healing you, he's using you to bring healing to others. Your story, your faith, your journey, they're medicine for broken hearts, hope for weary souls. You're not just receiving restoration, you're giving it. Think of Joseph, who forgave his brothers and restored his family. Your edge is where you become a conduit for God's healing, where your life mends what's broken in the world around you. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace divine alignment with eternity. Your life isn't just about now, it's about forever. Every choice you make, every step you take, is weaving you into God's eternal story. You're not just living for today's victories, you're living for the glory that never fades. Think of Moses, who chose God's promise over Egypt's riches. Your edge is where you choose eternity, where you align your heart with what lasts forever. This edge is where you stop fearing the cost. Following God's call isn't always easy. It might mean leaving comfort, risking rejection, letting go of what's familiar. But the cost is nothing compared to the reward. God's promises are worth more than anything you leave behind. Think of the disciples who left their nets to follow Jesus. Your edge is where you count the cost and say yes anyway, knowing God's reward is greater than any sacrifice. You're at the edge of a divine awakening of your gifts. The talents God placed in you, your creativity, your insight, your strength, they're not dormant anymore. He's stirring them, activating them, bringing them to life. You're not just gifted, you're anointed to use those gifts for his glory. Think of David, whose music soothed kings and whose courage felled giants. Your edge is where your gifts become tools for God's kingdom, where you step into the fullness of what he's given you. The edge is also where you become a magnet for divine opportunities. God's opening doors. No one else can. Doors to impact, to growth, to purpose. These aren't random chances. They're divine setups, tailored for your calling. You're not chasing opportunities. They're chasing you. Think of Ruth, who walked into Boaz's field by God's design. Your edge is where you walk into the opportunities God's prepared, where His favor positions you for greatness. You're standing at the edge, chosen one, and this is where you become a vessel for divine vision. God's planting a picture in your heart, a glimpse of what's possible, a blueprint of your future. This isn't just imagination, it's revelation. He's showing you what He sees for you, not what the world limits you to. Your dreams are taking shape, your purpose is gaining clarity, and your path is illuminated by His light. Think of Ezekiel, who saw a valley of dry bones come to life because God gave him vision. Your edge is where you see with God's eyes, where His vision for your life becomes your reality. This edge is where you stop letting the past define your future. The mistakes, the regrets, the moments you wish you could redo, they don't have the final word. God does. He's not bound by your history. He's writing your destiny. Every step you take from this edge is a step out of what was and into what will be. Think of Rahab, whose past as a prostitute didn't stop her from becoming a hero of faith. Your edge is where you leave the old labels behind and walk into the future God's prepared for you. You're also at the edge of a divine shift in perspective. The way you see challenges, opportunities, even yourself, it's all changing. God's giving you a new lens, one that sees His hand in every situation. What looked like a setback is now a setup. What felt like a loss is now a lesson. This shift isn't just mental, it's spiritual, aligning your heart with His truth. Think of Elisha, who saw chariots of fire when others saw only defeat. Your edge is where you start seeing God's power in every moment, where your perspective becomes a gateway to miracles. The edge is a place of divine boldness. You've held back, hesitated, wondered if you're enough. But God's calling you to step out with courage, to speak with authority, to act with conviction. This boldness isn't arrogance, it's faith in action, trusting that God's strength backs every move you make. Think of Deborah, who led a nation into battle with unwavering confidence in God's call. Your edge is where you embrace that same boldness, where you move forward knowing God's power is in you. Drop a 777 inches the comments to declare you're stepping into His courage. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you become a beacon of divine hope. Your faith isn't just for you, it's a light for those lost in darkness, a signal that God's promises are real. You're not just walking your path, you're showing others they can walk theirs. Your hope is contagious. Your trust is inspiring. Your life is proof that God never fails. Think of Anna, the prophetess who waited years to see the Messiah and shared His hope with everyone. Your edge is where your hope becomes a flame that lights up the world around you. This edge is where you stop striving for control. The world says you have to make things happen, but God says you only need to trust Him. Control is an illusion. His plan is reality. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means giving over to the one who holds it all. Your life, your dreams, your future, they're safer in His hands than yours. Think of Hannah, who released her longing for a child to God and received Samuel. Your edge is where you surrender control and watch God move in ways you never could. You're at the edge of a divine overflow of strength. You've been through battles that tested your limits, but God's been building a resilience in you that nothing can break. This strength isn't just physical or emotional, it's spiritual, rooted in His power. You're not just surviving, you're thriving because He's carrying you. Think of Samson, who found strength in God even after failure. Your edge is where you tap into his limitless strength, where you stand taller than ever before. Hit that like button and subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls embracing God's power. The edge is also where you become a channel for divine restoration. God's not just healing your wounds, he's using you to heal others. Your story, your compassion, your faith. They're medicine for broken hearts, hope for weary souls. You're not just receiving, you're giving, pouring out his love to those who need it. Think of Joseph, who restored his family after years of betrayal. Your edge is where you become a restorer, where your life brings wholeness to those around you. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace divine timing. The world rushes, but God's pace is perfect. Every delay, every pause, every waiting season has been preparing you for this moment. He's aligning every detail, setting every stage for your breakthrough. Trust his rhythm, it's never late. Think of Sarah, who birthed Isaac in her old age, because God's timing was flawless. Your edge is where you rest in his schedule, knowing your moment is coming right on time. This edge is where you stop fearing the unknown. The future used to feel like a shadow, full of questions and doubts, but God's lighting your path, showing you that the unknown is where he works best. Your future isn't a mystery, it's a masterpiece in his hands. You don't need to know every step, you just need to know he's leading. Think of Abraham, who left home without a map, trusting God's promise. Your edge is where you step into the unknown, confident that God's already there. You're at the edge of a divine awakening of purpose. The dreams you've carried, the passions you've held, they're not random, they're God's fingerprints on your soul. He's stirring them now, bringing them to life, showing you why you're here. You're not just existing, you're fulfilling a mission only you can carry. Think of Nehemiah, who rebuilt a city because God awakened his purpose. Your edge is where your purpose comes alive, where you live out the reason you were created. The edge is also where you become a magnet for divine favor. God's favor is surrounding you, opening doors, softening hearts, creating opportunities. It's not about what you've earned, it's about what he's declared. His favor is your shield, your key, your advantage. Think of Daniel, whose favor with kings came from God's hand. Your edge is where favor flows, where God positions you for breakthroughs no one could have planned. You're standing at the edge, and this is where you embrace divine clarity. The fog of confusion is lifting. God's giving you a clear view of his plan. Questions that haunted you are finding answers. Paths that seemed tangled are straightening out. His Spirit is guiding you, illuminating every step. Think of Samuel, who heard God's voice in the night when others couldn't. Your edge is where you hear clearly, where his direction becomes your compass. This edge is where you stop carrying guilt, the weight of past mistakes, the shame of old failures. God's taking it all. He's not holding your past against you. He's using it to shape your future. Your guilt doesn't define you, his grace does. Let it go and walk free. Think of the woman caught in adultery, who Jesus freed with a single word. Your edge is where you accept his forgiveness, where you step into the freedom he's offering. You're at the edge of a divine shift in relationships. God's pruning what doesn't belong and planting what does. Toxic connections are falling away. Divine partnerships are taking root. You're not meant to walk with those who pull you down. You're meant to run with those who lift you up. Think of Jonathan and David, whose friendship was a gift from God. Your edge is where God brings the right people, where your relationships align with his purpose. The edge is also where you become a voice for divine justice. The world is full of wrong, But God's placed a fire in you to write it. Your voice, your actions, your faith, they're tools to bring His fairness, His love, His truth to those who need it. You're not here to stay silent. You're here to speak up. Think of Amos, who called out injustice because God's heart burned in him.